Axelsen's doing association with Squared Circle Boxing. Today I'm here with Frank Smith. Frank, first of all, mate, how are we?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. Good to be here. Massive fight week, kicking off today, and a big night coming on Saturday.
Indeed it is, a huge fight, a huge domestic fight, and a question which I've been asking most of the people today, how important is having these huge domestic fights?
100%. That's why we push so hard to make this fight happen, because it's an important fight for British boxing, and you're going to see on Saturday night a special atmosphere in there. And these are the kind of fights we need to deliver to keep building and growing the sport. We've been lucky enough to witness some tremendous fights in this weight division over the last year. Whether that's Lee Wood against Michael Conlon, whether that's Maurizio Lara against Lee Wood, whether that's Josh Warrington, Kiko Martinez, and nights that have delivered unbelievable atmospheres as well. And you've got two guys coming together on Saturday night with huge fan bases, and everyone tuning in is going to be in for a special night of boxing and a massive undercard as well, which is important.
And just to touch upon that undercard, like you said, some massive fights. We've got Udofia fighting Kieran Conway, almost forgot then. He's, of course, a huge domestic fight as well. We've got Cameron Villon, Janae Bostan, Nick Olivas, and how important is it when you've got such a good main event to also have such a stacked undercard?
Yeah, 100%. The fights you listed there, like you say, Conway, Udofia, we've wanted that fight for a while. There's been a few delays to it. It's a brilliant fight for the card. You've got Terry Harper against Cecilia Breakhouse is another great fight. A fight that was supposed to happen, obviously, on the Casey Taylor undercard. Hopi Price, Conor Coghill's another brilliant fight as well. And then the young talent that you mentioned there, Nico Livias, Cameron Vong, Janae Boston, Kobe McNamara as well on the card. Look, it's stacked top to bottom, and you need a bit of everything, from those young stars coming through to those great domestic fights as well, world championship fights, and that's these are all things that are going to help build the sport out, and it's what we're trying hard to deliver, not just a great main event but a stacked card top to bottom.
And of course the whole undercard, there are great ticket sellers themselves, but of course the main event, it's in a kind of neutral place, but it's going to have 50-50 fan bases. And do you feel like it's going to be an electric atmosphere in there?
100%. Look, we've all seen what they've created both in Nottingham and Leeds, the nights that have been built in there. But when these two guys come to the ring, it's going to be something special. And then, look, we saw a great night when Michael Conlon fought Lee Wood. That was similar in terms of two fan bases coming together. Scott Quigg when he fought Carl Frampton, Josh Warrington when he fought Carl Frampton. These types of fights where you bring these huge fan bases together, it's going to be an atmosphere that you don't see too often.
Of course, and of course it being in Sheffield, you've had some recent events there, of course Dalton Smith headlining there as well, and how nice is it to bring boxing back to Sheffield? It's such a good fighting city as well.
Yeah, look, it's a tremendous place to do shows, as you say. Dalton Smith's huge finish in his last fight. He's going to be a massive star for us here in Sheffield. And we've been coming here for a long time. I think the War of the Roses was, 10, 12 years ago. Kelbrook against Matthew Hatton, that was a unbelievable atmosphere that night. And it's great to bring boxing to places where people care. And Sheffield has long been a place where people have got behind boxing, and great to see.
Of course, and this is amongst a stacked DAZN Matchroom schedule, and do you feel like for the moment it's the best in the world?
Yeah, look, I think it's unrivaled, the schedule. Not just the Matchroom shows, but you saw also Ryan Garcia was announced yesterday, non-pay-per-view as well against Duarte. It's a tough fight as well. It's a real fight. But yeah, look, we've got a huge schedule coming up until the end of the year. Working on a couple of final bits for November 11, December 2, which we'll have news on soon, and then December 23rd is potentially our last date that we're working on something big for. And we're doing 14 shows in 15 weekends starting from September 15. It's a crazy run, and it's a quality run as well. Not just Saturday night, but you've got the likes of the Chantel Cameron Casey Taylor rematch in there as well. You've got Joe Cordina defending his world title in Monaco. I'll miss some because I could go through them all, but Eddie did it the other day in a much better way than me. You got Regis Prograis defending his world title against Devin Haney. Look, some tremendous nights coming up, and yeah, like I say, the best schedule in boxing, honestly unrivaled. People say I'm biased, but you can't say there's anything that compares to that.
Of course, and you see certain big promoters, they sometimes have maybe not weeks off, but weeks where the cards aren't quite as stacked. But do you feel like there's never a week off with DAZN/Matchroom?
Oh, look, the key for us is to deliver consistent quality for the subscribers. You're always going to have some shows which are smaller than others, smaller scale than others, but the key is to deliver back-to-back events. We're delivering probably 36 to 40 events a year, plus you've got the Golden Boy schedule, you've got the Misfits, if that's what you're into. people get upset, but that's a great product in its own right. It has a fan base as well, a huge fan base. So, look, like I say, DAZN's product's unrivaled, and the key for us and our job that we get put in place to do is to deliver the best schedule week in, week out.
Of course, and last weekend we saw two great fights. Just, of course, the matchroom one start off with Opetaia vs Thompson. Opetaia, a great performance and a great stoppage. And where do you think he goes from there? Is that Briedis rematch the one that you're possibly looking for?
Look, Briedis is the mandatory, of course. So that will, I'm sure the IBF will look to order that. There's unifications as well to be made. He looked tremendous in there. And look, fair play to Jordan Thompson for taking a chance. I saw a lot of people saying, he shouldn't have been in there, but he's 15-0. He's been in the sport a long time. He had an opportunity to challenge for a world title and could have changed his life. And before that fight, people were saying maybe it's too early. But people looked at the two of them, looked at the size of the two of them, and gave Jordan Thompson a chance. And that's what this sport's all about, is opportunity. And he took the opportunity when others didn't. And he'll come back. He'll come back stronger. He'll get a lot of experience for that. But Jai Opetaia is undoubtedly the number one cruiserweight in the division. Some massive fights to be made. It's interesting times and lots to look forward to.
Of course, and I feel like online you're always going to get criticisms, but of course you see lots of fighters get talked about them not progressing quick enough. But then when you have something like that with Thompson, people say, oh, it was too quick and it shouldn't be happening. But is that just like saying, well, what's the point in having these 50-50s? Because on paper that was more of a 50-50 than possibly other fights could have been.
Look, it was a big jump. I'm not going to sit here and say it wasn't a big jump. But when you're in his position at cruiserweight, there was talk as well before that maybe, because he's big, he's huge, and that making cruiserweight is not the easiest thing for him to do. So it was, if there's an opportunity here to challenge for a world title, change your life, he could have gone in there. He's a big puncher. He could have caught him with a big shot. Look, we all saw what Jai Opetaia did, but I think it was a chance he had to take. And like I say, before the fight, there weren't people out there going, "This is a joke." Complete mismatch. It was, they gave Jordan Thompson the chance that we thought he had. And like I say, you have to want to take these opportunities, especially in that he's not 5 or 6-0. He's had 15 fights. Don't get me wrong, he hasn't challenged at the level of Jai Opetaia, but sometimes you only see with a fighter when they get in with someone at that level. So, I think it's always easy after the fact for people to judge and say that. But I think it was the right decision that he made, and now the plan is come back. I think he'll move to heavyweight, obviously, and go from there and rebuild.
And for Opetaia, is there big nights in Australia possibly planned for him?
Yeah, look, there's huge investment in the sport of boxing in Australia. It's a massive market, and definitely something we're looking at currently. Like I say, I believe he's the number one cruiserweight in the world. I believe there's huge opportunity with governments as well to bring him back to Australia and deliver him those big nights. He's had a long time out the ring, so keeping busy is going to be the key for him now. So yeah, for sure, that's definitely a plan, is to take him back there.
Of course, another fight which was that night, Canelo Charlo. I don't know if you managed to stay up or watch it or not, but what did you make of the fight?
Look, I haven't said. I've just seen the inside. I don't like to comment on things when I've just seen other people's opinions. I think from what I've read, obviously it was Canelo went out there and outclassed him, and it was. Look, Canelo's a tremendous fighter, but you want fighters to go in there. When we're putting on events of this scale and people are paying $70, $80 for it, you want fighters to go in there and give it their all. And from what I've read, again, I haven't watched the fights, I'm not standing there judging, but Charlo didn't quite do that. We saw what John Ryder went in the ring and did. He fought until the last minute of that fight, and that's what people want to see when they're paying their money, and fair enough. But look, Canelo's a special fighter, and I'm sure he's got some big nights ahead.
Indeed, and then just to move on, Japanese events happening with Matchroom, and is it good to see that you're branching into another new market?
Yeah, Japan's been a market we've been looking at for a long time, over 4 or 5 years, and we've got a massive deal now with Rakuten and Never Say Never. 3-year deal, 3 shows a year, all part of our global expansion plan, and to be able to deliver not just future stars, future Japanese stars, but also give our fighters opportunities in new markets as well. So it's exciting. It's exciting to get a new deal over the line, and was out there in Tokyo for the announcement last week and got some big nights ahead.
Indeed, and is there any fighters which you're looking at for big fights there? Any names?
We're working through it now with our partners, and hopefully some news soon. Looks like the first show will be in January, so yeah, news very soon on what's coming.
Well, Frank, thank you very much again, mate.
Cheers, mate. Good to see you. Thank you for coming.